without trauma or kind of completely. There is plenty of issues with it. Good run, let's keep it up. Let's get back out there, get some more of that yellow stuff. Since the 1800s, gold mining has become one of the world's most lucrative businesses. The Discovery Channel's Gold Rush, Alaska captures the intrigue and mystery in the field, following families as they navigate the challenges of gold mining. Recently, one of the show's stars, Tony Beets, made a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that could hold the key to the richest finds in mining history. However, this secret treasure raises questions. What is its origin, and why was it abandoned? Join us as we uncover the thrilling story behind this unexpected gold-filled discovery at Nugget Creek. The Gold Rush TV series, before diving into what Tony Beets discovered and why it's such a big deal, provides some context, especially for those who might not know much about the mining world or its well-known figures. The story begins with a TV show that introduced Tony Beets to the world, Gold Rush. This reality TV show, which first aired on December 3, 2010, has captured the attention of audiences for years. It follows a lively group of miners, including Rick Ness, Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, and Fred Lewis, who joined in its 12th season. The show, narrated by Paul Christie in the US and Dean Lennox Kelly and Shaw Dooley in the UK, quickly became a favorite in the world of reality television. Made in the United States and presented in English, Gold Rush has been running strong for 15 seasons, with a total of 367 episodes. Christo Doyle, the executive producer, has been credited with playing a major role in its success over the years. Filming has taken place in several locations, with the Klondike in Yukon, Canada, and parts of Alaska, United States, being among the most prominent spots. Particularly during the 12th season, each episode lasts about 60 minutes, giving viewers a close-up view of the challenges and victories of gold mining. Produced by Raw TV, Gold Rush continues to entertain with its exciting look into the mining world and the personal journeys of the miners chasing their dreams of striking gold. In the first season, the show went by the title Gold Rush, Alaska, and focused on 6 men from Sandy, Oregon, a small town located about 30 miles southeast of Portland. These men had been hit hard by the economic downturn and found themselves out of work. Facing tough times, they took a huge gamble and headed to Porcupine Creek, Alaska, to search for gold. Most of them didn't have much experience with placer gold mining and had to figure things out as they went along. The season was full of challenges. Equipment kept breaking down, and the crew's lack of mining skills made things even harder. At first, they planned to strip mine an area near Porcupine Creek, but those plans quickly changed when Jack Hoffman started looking for an old waterfall he believed could hold a lot of gold nuggets. About halfway through the season, things shifted again. The claim owner, Earl Foster, sent in Dakota Fred, a seasoned miner, to try to make the operation run more smoothly. Even with some last-minute efforts, the crew struggled to find a rhythm and couldn't cover their costs. By the time the season wrapped up, the Hoffman crew had managed to recover just under 15 ounces of gold. In the second season, the show was renamed to just Gold Rush. During this time, Todd missed a lease payment for the claim at Porcupine Creek. Because of that, the claim owner, Earl Foster, sold it to Dakota Fred Hurt, who wasn't required to honor the previous lease due to the missed payment. The season followed several mining operations. The Hoffman crew moved to a new site at Quartz Creek in the Klondike region near Dawson City, Yukon, Canada. Meanwhile, Dakota Fred took over the original Hoffman mine at Porcupine Creek and began focusing on expanding the area. Parker Schnabel was also introduced as he tried his hand at mining on his grandfather's property, Big Nugget Mine, at Porcupine Creek. Dakota Fred made some big changes. All the equipment left behind by the Hoffman crew was removed, and he decided to use a different setup called a deker, which he believed could process dirt more efficiently than what the Hoffmans had done the previous season. This season became especially important because it marked the introduction of a key figure in the series, but more on that later. The third season kicked off in October of 2012. The Hoffman crew headed back to the Klondike to mine their Quartz Creek site once more. This time, they added more workers so they could handle a second site in the area at the same time. But things didn't go as planned. Equipment problems and delays slowed them down, leading to a decision to join forces with Dave Turin's team at Indian River. Parker Schnabel returned to his grandfather's Big Nugget mine, this time with bigger and more efficient equipment. Meanwhile, Dakota, Fred Hurt and his team went back to Porcupine Creek to continue their work there. The season saw some impressive results. Dave Turin's crew ended up mining 83 ounces of gold, which earned them over $1.2 million. Interestingly, this total was just 3 ounces more than what Dave had estimated during the season 2 after show when asked by the executive producer. Parker and Dakota Fred also had a successful run, recovering 192 ounces and 163 ounces respectively, with each haul worth over $4 million. Compared to the first season, where no team managed to recover more than 50 ounces of gold, this season was a major step forward. Having been renewed for a fourth season, Gold Rush began in August of 2013 with a special preseason episode titled The Dirt. This episode featured interviews with all the teams from the previous season, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at their experiences. The main season, however, premiered later, on October 25th. Later, a spin-off titled Gold Rush, Guyana South America followed the Hoffman crew as they took on a new challenge in South America. Parker Schnabel leased fresh ground at Scribner Creek in Dawson City, guided by his mentor Tony Beets. Meanwhile, Dakota, Fred Hurt and his son Dustin focused their efforts on Cahoon Creek, a rugged post-glacial site that had only been mined with pickaxes back in the late 1800s. The Hoffman crew struggled significantly. Their operation in Guyana yielded barely 2 ounces of gold and only $1,350 worth of diamonds. This poor performance forced them to abandon the tank in his truck to avoid making contact with others on the road. A new team, led by Special Forces medic Fred Lewis, joined the show during this season. The 11th season premiered on October 23, 2020. Gold Rush Season 12 premiered on Friday, September 24, 2021, kicking off with the episode Ground War on the Discovery Channel. This season followed the mining crews of Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, Rick Ness, and Fred Lewis. Toward the end, Fred Lewis teamed up with the neighboring Clayton brothers, adding a new dynamic to the story. The 13th season began on Friday, September 30, 2022, with the episode A Seismic Shift. It continued to feature Parker Schnabel, who worked sites in both Alaska and the Yukon, along with Tony Beets, Fred Lewis, and the Clayton brothers. This season also included guest appearances from Dave Turin as he retired from mining. Rick Ness, however, decided not to mine that season and appeared only briefly at the start to explain his absence. Then Season 14 launched on Friday, September 29, 2023, with the episode The $160 Million Gamble. The focus remained on Parker Schnabel, Tony Beets, Rick Ness, and a new crew, the McNess. Now, in Season 15, which premiered on Friday, November 8, 2024, with Greed is Good. The show continues to showcase the mining operations of its core cast on Discovery Channel. Among all the miners who have been part of the show over the years, one person has stood out. Known for his no-nonsense attitude and often unconventional methods, he captured the audience's attention in a way few others did. But who was this standout figure, and what made him so memorable? Background of Tony Beets. Tony Beets grew up on a small farm in Wijdeens, a quiet town in the Netherlands. Before moving to Dawson City in 1984, he supported himself by milking cows. Starting from these modest beginnings as a machine operator, Tony worked his way up to become one of the most successful gold miners in the Klondike. Tony's family plays a big role in his success. His wife Minnie and their children Monica, Kevin, Michael, and Bianca all pitch in to help run the family business. Now, after spending decades in the gold mining industry, Tony is counting on his kids to keep the family's gold mining legacy alive for many years to come. On Gold Rush, Tony stands out not just for his mining expertise, but also for his fiery personality and colorful language. According to Discovery's official bio, Tony first appeared in Season 2, when he offered advice to Todd Hoffman on improving his mining operation. By Season 4, Tony was back on the show, leasing land to a young Parker Schnabel, who he later became a mentor to. His no-nonsense approach and larger-than-life character have made him one of the most memorable figures on the show. Take his feud with Parker Schnabel, which is one of the more intense highlights on Gold Rush. The two first crossed paths during the filming of Season 4. At first, they got along well. Tony even mentored Parker when he took over Big Nugget Mine. However, things took a turn for the worst when Beets leased Parker some land. According to Outsider, Parker struck a deal with Tony to mine on an airstrip that Beets owned, hoping to extract thousands of ounces of gold and make a nice profit. But Parker soon realized that the royalty payment structure Beets had written into the lease agreement didn't quite add up. The harder Parker worked, the less he seemed to earn. This frustrating deal became a hot topic when Parker discussed it during Season 9 of Gold Rush. He said that the royalty rates have to change and explained that after reaching 6,000 ounces, they were required to pay a 25% royalty. This meant that on 8,000 ounces, Tony Beets would get almost $2 million. Parker mentioned that continuing like this would eventually cause him to go broke. The year before, once he hit the 6,000 ounce mark, Parker had decided to stop mining the leased land to avoid giving up all his profits to Tony, something he didn't want to repeat. After a heated conversation, the tension between the two grew. Tony refused to change the terms of the lease, leaving Parker no choice but to get creative. Parker came up with a clever plan. His team started switching wash plants, which are used to process the gold from the dirt and box, every time they mined 1,500 ounces. Then switched back. This trick allowed them to pay royalties only on their net haul rather than the gross amount. When Tony found out, he wasn't happy. Things got even worse when he discovered that Parker was using the leased land to transport gold from his mud hole to his Klondike claim. Mitch Blaschke, the foreman, reportedly said, "This is one small step for us, but this is one giant middle finger to Tony Beets."